trend that's up and coming in the industry as far as cleansing conditioners. I'm sure you're all familiar with When's a big one in the industry, and we all know Biologics rolled one out. So what's really awesome about this new line that we're going to test out in our salons is it's locally made. It's made in Iowa. So I mean, it's close to home. You know,
manufactured actually in Marietta and Omaha, just down the road. So
there you go. And our salons will be the first salons in Nebraska to be able to roll it out. So we're really excited about that. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce. This is Todd Johnson, and he's going to go ahead and take it over from there.
well, hello everyone.
Hello.
So a few things to start out with. Is this on? Yeah. Okay. I assume you can hear me okay. So I am like the biggest nerd you'll ever meet in this industry. Okay. I am not a cosmetologist. I am not a licensed beautician, anything like that. I am a PhD chemist. Spent the last 20 years of my life in the drug industry, developing drugs. For those of you who have any children or yourself with ADHD or adult deficit disorder, I helped register and get Vyvanse approved if anybody's ever taken that drug. So I'm a scientist, and that's the way I look at the world. I tend to get rolling in these presentations when I start talking about my product because I kind of become pretty excited. So if you have a question, if you don't understand what I'm saying, raise your hand, yell at me, throw something at me, just get my attention so that we can make sure that we get everybody's questions answered effectively here. The reason why that's important is because, as you know, this is a pretty different concept. And what you'll find out in this presentation today is that I'm trying to execute on a professional salon of a cleansing conditioner that actually cleanses, unlike Win, which actually has done great in the retail space, but it has issues with long-term use, regardless of people like Win. The other thing I do is I don't believe in trying to fix the hair by putting stuff in the hair. I believe in trying to fix hair by nourishing the scalp, because coming into this from the pharmaceutical side of things, I recognize that there's a, if you will, there's a conflict with the issues with a lot of the professional hair care products that are being used in the world right now. And it was my thesis that most women were having issues with breaking hair, hair that would fall out, brittle hair, not because they weren't getting enough protein in it, it's because their scalps were unhealthy. And so that's another thing that we focus on with my technology. I am the inventor of this line. I have a business partner, a lifelong friend, PhD chemist like myself, both from the University of Iowa. And as I said, we have really tried to do some things here with this line with the effort of trying to look at hair care in a little bit different way. Okay? So let's start out with the easy part. How many people know what a hedge apple is? Okay, fantastic. Okay, the hedge apple is important to me, which is this little contemporary view of this. Because within the hedge apple are these amazing seeds, and from these seeds are what we isolate, pure Pomifera oil. And we'll talk more about this oil, but the reason why this oil is so unique, two reasons. One, it has the highest concentration of omega-6 of any known source in the world, any plant source. Why is that important? High shine with this oil, low molecular weight, great moisture, won't build up, and it rapidly absorbs into the skin, which is important for my theory on the scalp. Okay, so that's an important thing. The other thing is it has some excellent independent studies with scientific results for showing that it's pretty darn effective in laboratory experiments for eczema, psoriasis, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, all good things that you want in a hair care line. We'll talk more about that too. And then finally, Pomifera. So if we could all say it together, Pomifera.
Pomifera.
Okay. So it's half of the Latin term for the Osage orange, which is another name for the hedge apple, and that's my trademark. That's why this little TM is here. So Macula Pomifera is the Latin words for hedge apple. Okay? Any questions at this point? All right, let's get down to it. So we're going to hit on some themes here that you'll see. As you'll see in all of our marketing, you won't see it in our bottles right now because we haven't secured trademark rights. But as you'll see in a lot of our marketing and future bottles, we're a company where science meets beauty. Okay, that's a theme that's running through here. We're going to talk about simply shampooing less, and we're going to think about a different way to cleanse, condition, and set the hair for texture with these cleansing conditioners. And then beyond that, we'll talk about all the wonderful things that we can do in the salon with this oil and with the other products that I developed. Okay? Here we go. If I can operate this thing correctly. All right. So, nothing that you need to write down here, but I've got some simple themes that you remember in my mind. So number one is all about this oil. And I'm going to hand this oil around, and if you would, just put a drop on the back of your hand, pass it on. You will see the unique nature of this oil. That oil, that is the pure oil from the seeds of the hedge apple. And that is in every one of my products. Okay? This oil is fantastic in color service and any pre-lightener or lightener activities that you will do in the salon. And we'll talk more about that. We have found, because we're in Capri College and at the state of Iowa, and then we're working with a similarly large franchise of cost cutters in eastern Iowa, we now know two things. It works great. This pure oil works great in color, and we're branding this as a reconstructive color service, and we'll talk in details about this. But the theme is what you'll find when you use this correctly in the salon. Your client or your guest will have hair that is literally almost better coming out than went into the color service, and there's going to be an incredible shine and pop to the color coming out of that process. The other feature that I don't have, and we'll talk about it, that's the problem when you don't get everything on the truck. We're going to talk about how this is great for being able to take 20, 30, 40 volume pleats. How many people have heard of Olaplex at this point? It's kind of all the rage right now. So what we've done, we've just completed our studies head up against Olaplex. Fine product, does the same thing as our gold oil. The difference is my cost point is much better than theirs in the salon. It's a very expensive product to use in the salon, and we have the sell-through opportunity of my line to go with my oil. So we'll talk about how this allows you with blondes to go 20, 30, 40 volume jumps, however you like. It's going to protect the hair. Hair's going to come out. It's not going to be trash. It's going to look great. All right? So, 4 key things to every product that I've developed. And if I can't do these 4 things, I have no interest in doing it. This is part of the reason why I have a tight SKU count, which is they need to be lightweight, they need to deliver body, they need to deliver shine, and they need to deliver hydration. And if I can't accomplish those 4 things, you'll never see me develop that product. Okay? Many people ask me why I don't have a hairspray. I can't do that with hairspray. Hairspray is a nozzle technology. I can't get my Pomifera oil in there. It just doesn't make sense for the way that I look at the world with what I'm trying to do in hair care. As we'll get into these blue bottles, 2 types of formulas. Normal, of course, fine limp. Fine limp's going to change to just fine in the future, but right now it's fine limp. Anyway, this is to work on the idea of simply shampooing less. With these products, we're going to build a healthy scalp environment for your I think you prefer guest. I heard somebody saying yes. What you will get as a benefit of this also, in addition to hair that's now no longer falling out, it's growing, it's repaired, is you're going to see fantastic color retention. And I'm pretty excited because I found out some of your salons do a lot of Pravana or do some Pravana in non-natural colors. And those of you who do this know that after 2 weeks it starts to get dull and it starts to fade. These blue bottles will extend that to 4 to 6 weeks with a lot of vibrancy and color. So this is going to be a fun one for you to try out and find out if I'm right about that. So we're also addressing the wind phenomenon. We'll talk very briefly about that. Anybody want to guess how many dollars a day of wind is sold in the United States, online and through QVC? A little over $1 million a day, 350 million a year. You guys get zero of that in your salon, so you can't provide that to your customer base in your salon, sorry, your guests. And so that was another focus when we were looking at the world, how we wanted to innovate. There was an obvious gap in the cleansing conditioner market for the professional salon. When I went out and interviewed people and did focus groups, the one comment that people did not like about wind predominantly was too much product, pretty expensive, it wouldn't rinse out very well, and over long-term use, it didn't really cleanse the hair. And so that's what I focused on, and that's what my cleansing conditioner does, different than wind. And I know that you all have Biolage. The great thing about being a big, gigantic nerd like I am, I've already focus grouped the Biolage that I got my hands on, took it back to the lab, analyzed it like I did the wind bottles, and basically it's a foamy version of wind. And I think there's going to be a segment of the population that's going to like that product. But what it's not going to do is, because I have the patent on this, and I know that they're in the wrong pH range to deliver a healthy scalp, they're not going to deliver a healthy scalp long term like I can. So you're going to see the same old problems with a cleansing conditioner that's designed that way, in my opinion. Okay? All right, finally, tight SKU offering. I am not interested in building inventory. That is not my mission in life. You will never see me come around and say, hey, I've got another blue bottle to put the end of your shelf, now try to figure out how to sell it for me. Because the reality is, if you've got 20 bottles of something on your shelf, about 3 or 4 of them sell really well. The rest kind of gather dust, right? So we're not an inventory build company. We have a tight SKU offering, and that is restricted for a couple of reasons. One, we're a new company, but two, if I can't achieve the first 4 themes, anybody remember what they were? Lightweight, body, shine, hydration, not going to do it. So we've got a few things in development. We've got a mask that we like. We've got a spray leave-in that's kind of similar to It's a 10, but they're ways off in development right now. So, okay, any questions at this point? You guys are a real easy group so far.
What is itch?
So that's proprietary, but what you can tell people, and I don't always like to make a big deal out of it, but that's a good thing about talking to professionals who know the business. It is similar to baby shampoo, so it's slightly basic, okay? The pH is important, but the other components that are important is, so for example, let's compare wind and Biolage to my cleansing conditioner with that question. If you were to read my patent, which is about ready to issue, you would find that I have an insane amount of natural oils here in the form of Pomifera oil. In this bottle, fine lint, Pomifera oil, and grapeseed oil. Nobody in the industry puts this much in here. So we get the gentle cleanse with a unique technology of being able to put that much of a natural oil or a couple natural oils in there, but then you get the benefits of that on your scalp with also not stripping your natural oils from your hair and the scalp at the same time, but you're getting a good cleanse in the process, and you're trying to avoid letting live environment products build up in your hair and your scalp. So one thing I'll tell you, when you put my cleansing conditioner in, really work it into your scalp. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to hit the scalp. I'm not trying to avoid the scalp with my products.
Have you ever heard of dioxin?
I have.
Okay, so how does yours compare to them if they are also based on inventory?
They are, and I think my opinion is I think it's a decent product. I think they're operating in the wrong pH range. So.
When you were testing this product, how long have you been testing this?
So we tested this product for about 8 months before we launched commercially, which was in June of last year. So we're 7 months live with 8 months of, and the early test group were people like my friends, family, myself, you know, things like that, and then got out more and more. So yeah, just as that point, it was about 150 tries for my cleansing conditioner. Shampoo. I don't want to minimize shampoo. This is a great shampoo. I'm not all that interested in shampoo. There's a lot of really good shampoo. I think I've got a very competitive shampoo. but my focus is not shampoo in life, but I realize in this industry I need a supportive shampoo in this business. That was a couple tries.
And then is your shampoo, it's good for color treated hair?
Color, yeah, we'll talk about that. There's a slide for that. Gel, this was formulation number 2. I did not understand how important it was to create a volume lift gel that was actually like this gel, and very pleasantly surprised that I quit at formulation number 2. And then my other product that I'm really, really proud of is my radiant healing hair oil, which we'll talk about is similar to a Moroccan oil type product with a lot of different features and properties. And this is a great seller. I can tell you, you guys will sell a lot of this right out of the blocks. That was about 50 tries. So science is mostly failure. That's why if you become a scientist or your children or your friends do, tell them to expect 95% failure in life. So, okay, this is really quickly. So, how do you get enough seeds to get enough Pomifera oil out of a crop that doesn't exist? Well, we created a crop. Kind of interesting. This is the way you do it. Big pile of hedge apples. That shows that picture right there is about 30 ton of hedge apples. We bought 200 ton of hedge apples. Even the Amish brought them. That's a really bad picture of me just doing some collection of the oil. That's the important part though, which is we control the chain of this oil. So unlike the majors where they buy their oil that comes out of some big refinery that's also had soybean oil and everything else in it, we control the chain of that, and that's why our oil is really unique and why it does the things it will do and why we have such a competitive advantage. So the important thing about our oil is we have some really bizarre sounding properties to it with the components, phytonutrients, phospholipids, bioflavonoids, right? All you need to know is it's natural stuff that's in there that are important to the performance of the Pomifera line, okay? And if anybody else tries to do this, and if they don't isolate the oil correctly, they will not get the same components out of this oil, out of these seeds, okay? So I control that process, and that's why we're able to do this. Okay, so the whole thing in the salon, we'll kind of take this how it works in the salon, and we'll talk about the sell-through. A guest comes in. What's the majority of your business in a salon? Color service, right? You guys do colors all the time. I think it's 60% of your business. I've never owned a salon, but my research tells me, is that about right, 60%? Anybody know that number? About 2 out of 3?
I'm more focused on haircuts.
Okay.
In ours, but yeah, we're doing a lot of color.
All right. So it's an important part of the business. And what happens when you do a color service or you do some type of lightening function to the hair, right? You damage it, you blow it up, and there's a reason for that because you got to blow open the cuticle, you got to put these reagents in here, you got to smooth the cuticle. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Well, what we have found is with this, by the way, how do they like the oil on the back of their hand? Like, yeah, and if you'll notice, so you've got a nice shine probably still, but it's not greasy, right? So imagine that in your hair.
But it doesn't really have sun.
What?
It doesn't really have
Yeah, this should not, because this is natural. So this is 100% pure vegan oil. So at best, it will have an earthy smell. If I've done my job right, it will have no smell at all. So.
I have a little bit of smell.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I've tried it before, like just more like a fresh, earthy type of.
Yeah, it's very earthy. So depending on how your nose works, you'll find it very offensive to pleasant. And I'm on the offensive side. I've stood in too many piles of hedge apples in my life already. So, well, I get to know you all. I'll show you how we actually get the seeds out. It's kind of a fun video to watch. So anyway, this is the fun part, right? I mean, her hair looks great here. So pure Pomifera oil, think of it as a reconstructive service. And this is really something that not a lot of people have tried to tackle in the industry. In the past, there have been some people trying to do this with mixed results. But what we found is, and on the back of this flyer, which will be in your salon, are the instructions for how to use the gold oil in a color service or in a, you guys like pre-lightener or lightener? The industry's mixed on it. I go with pre-lightener. Is that okay? All right, you know what I'm talking about. So, so the key thing with this oil, right, so you have a client, guest, sorry, that comes into your salon and you're going to do a color service. Well, this is an awesome opportunity to introduce them to the Pomifera line because you're going to give them, you can charge for it if you want to. A lot of salons do. I don't know what you're going to do at first. I don't know what the management plan is. This bottle is complimentary starting out as we're launching this line in your salons. So you're going to be able to get approximately, the most extreme use of this is in a 40 volume lightener situation. And you will get at least 50, if not 70 of those treatments out of this little bottle, okay? And right now people are charging an upcharge of anywhere from $7 to $20 depending on the salon for that type of up service. Right now this product's free to use, so I would advise you put it in everyone's mix that comes in. And this is a way to introduce the line. And what they will get on the color side of it is, as I said, the hair you'll see will be protected. It will feel better almost coming out than it went in. You'll see great shine. Long term, you're going to see great color retention from this too. Okay? On the blonde side, where we're going with marketing to pump up your blonde volume with this 100% pure Pomifera gold oil. It's a natural way to lift your blondes, and so this is a great selling point to the world right now. This is a 100% natural way, big in product, to actually accomplish something in these chemical services. And to my knowledge, I don't think there's anything even remotely close to being able to do that out there in the industry. Olaplex is a chemical system, but it's very expensive. I think to get about 50 services out of the Olaplex package, I think it would run about $400 to the salon. So it's a very expensive package. So we can talk more about that if you want. The key features of this, we know that we can take 20, 30, 40 volume jumps by actually just adding this. So you have your scoops, right? You put your activator in, you mix it up, and you put the prescribed amount. It's 4 drops per scoop. You'll see that on the back of here. So if you do 2 scoops, it's 8 drops, 5 scoops, etc. So it's 20 drops at that point. Mix it together. What you'll see is if you were to compare Pomifera Gold in that situation to the Olaplex, the Pomifera Gold is still going to hold its blue tint to it. Y'all familiar with that, right? The Olaplex will look white, like something's changed in it. They still both perform the same. The difference is mine is a lot more cost effective for you to do in the salon. Okay. And the theme to your guests are no worries. Use this pre-lightener with confidence. That's also a theme to you. So don't worry about the subsequent damage. We're going to be blonde and strong. It's no hassle. You do everything you normally do, and at the end you put the prescribed number of drops. And I will demonstrate what a drop is. Okay, it's just what you would think. It's like you're dosing out. That's a drop. That's a drop. Okay, that's all it takes. 4 of those. Then you mix that in, and then, like I said, the nice thing about this versus, for example, Olaplex, because that's my direct competition, you have to do a special treatment after you do the Olaplex treatment in that service, and then you have to send them home with an additional product. None of that's required with this gold. This will work fine if they take none of my line home with them. Now, I would recommend that it would be very easy to sell them this great bottle as cleansing conditioner and some of my other products at that point, but it's not required for this to work in that service. Any questions on this? This is the entry point for selling this to every one of your guests. Make sense? Sound too good to be true? So what I'll tell you is we have over 1,000 heads of hair that we've done this with, both in color and the pre-lightener. So we know that this works. This isn't guessing. We had to refine how much to put in. Here's one thing I will tell you. We even did it to where we put 4 of these dropperfuls in each service, and it didn't impact it. So if you're going to miss, you want to miss a little bit heavy. You don't want to miss light. Okay? If you miss it light, you're not going to get the effect that you want. Okay? Any questions? All right? This stuff is literally going to become gold someday. All right. We're going to move on now So, you know, we focused on great color, reconstructive color service, a natural way to lift your blondes. We're not damaging the hair. We're really focusing on shine, vibrancy, and healthy hair coming out of that process. Now we want to keep, this is just some other details. We have a retail package of this, and I don't want to get sidetracked too much on this. But it is important for eczema and psoriasis of the scalp, because we know with our cleansing conditioner we can address those issues. But we sell a lot of this in this retail packaging that's similar to those little bottles you have running around here for $100. And what we've found is it's very effective at alleviating psoriasis and eczema generally in the body, wherever that condition exists, for anybody that has that. It's a pampering, upscale type thing. It's great around the eyes. It's very nourishing, back of the elbows, knees. You can even, if you have that much money, you can take your makeup off at night with it. I recommend, we'll talk about this, that you use this instead, because this works very effective to take your makeup off. You can do that. It's also, anybody that does any nail services, it's a great cuticle oil, but it's a pretty expensive cuticle oil too. So, all right.
Do you know if that's what we would retail at in our salons?
I haven't had that conversation with your management, but I'm open to any new territory that if there's a better price point for it, that we want to try to move some product, we could have that conversation. You guys are really easy. You sure you don't have questions? Okay. All right, now, so we've addressed color, we've addressed blondes. Now what do we want to do? I should add, when I'm talking about color, I'm including, this works for your highlights and lowlights along with this, right? I mean, anything that comes out of a tube, right? Okay. Now, one thing I will say is the only color line that we have not had the oil tested in is Pravana. Because Pravana is kind of unique how you do that. So I'm not recommending you rush back to your salon and mess around with your Pravana color. I'd rather focus on how the cleansing conditioner extends that color for right now until I can figure out how to use my gold oil in Pravana. Okay? All right. Simply shampoo less. Right? How many people are familiar with this concept? How many of you have guests that are trying to shampoo less? Probably a lot of you, some of you. Okay. So the issue with this is an education thing, and this is a societal normalization thing, right? We've all been taught, the younger generations, which is all of you compared to me, that anything that foams or bubbles or lathers is bad. It's bad for your skin, it's bad for your hair, it's bad for the fish in the river, it's bad for all these things, right? So there's a real movement afoot where people want to not get so many bubbles in their head and lather so much. It's also, as I've said, it is destructive to some things that you want to do, right? If you go home and you start shampooing with an aggressive surfactant, you're going to lose your color vibrancy of that expensive color service that you just did, right? So that's not a good thing. The thing that's different about my cleansing conditioners, as I said, we are focusing on the scalp. I don't care if people still use a shampoo, whether it's my shampoo or any other shampoo, but one of these blue bottles is what I want to try to convince people to have on their head at the last thing when they rinse out in the shower, every time that they get their hair wet and want to try to cleanse their hair or shampoo their hair, because this is what's going to give the healthy scalp benefits. All right? And then finally, in the process, what we found out is because of the unique nature of these blue bottles, over-processed hair, it's really good at helping with the over-processed hair. A lot of that's because we have a lot of Pomifera oil in here, but there's also some uniqueness of these, of the formulation in here. And we found that over time, this is a product that really delivers what it says it will do. So, okay. The biggest thing for you to overcome with my cleansing conditioner is it will not lather, okay? It will not lather. I will say that until I'm blue in the face, but it will not lather. And most cleansing conditioners will not. I did find that Biolage would lather, which was interesting to me, and then I looked at what they had in there, and there's quite a bit of surfactant in there, so that made sense to me why they were getting bubbles. What I have is a patented micro bubble technology, and very briefly, what happens here is you put the right amount in your hand, so fine length, not a whole lot of hair. You're probably going to be looking at a dime to a quarter starting out. All right, put it in wet hair, massage it in, work it into the scalp, splash a little water on, hit it again, and it's going to fill the micro bubbles in. It's going to fill light in your hair. Okay, that's when you know it's working. It's a contact product, so you can rinse it out at that point. If you're in the shower, I recommend just stand there, leave it in your hair, and then rinse it out.
Question. As per se with Biolage, it recommends to leave on your hair 5 full minutes.
Yeah, well, you don't have to at mine.
I didn't understand.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a key advantage because that was another thing with wind. So Biolage and wind have done the same thing. They're selling a comb to make sure that you move it through your hair and stuff like that. The reason why those products need that is because their first ingredient past water is cetyl alcohol, which is a wax. So that's what's giving you the slip. That's what's giving you, that initial different, experience that you're feeling in your hair. But that's why they want that, because it's kind of a rinsability plus kind of a flowability issue, and that's something we had to work on with mine too. That's why it took 150 tries. So you'll find that mine moves around pretty darn well, and it rinses out really well. So, but again, it won't lather. In your step-by-step guide that you'll get, if you don't have it already, it gives a lot of detailed instructions. I think Robin still has those. The step-by-step guide?
Yeah. Yep.
So it is painfully detailed because I found out I had to write it painfully detailed at first because the biggest problem I had was correct usage of these cleansing conditioners. So a couple things you have to determine. One, you have to determine if this is the right formulation for you. Some of you, it's going to be obvious. Some of you know, oh, I've got coarse curly hair and I need the normal to coarse. And if that's the case and you use the fine lint, you're going to find out it's just not enough moisture for you. It's just not going to do the trick. The opposite is true. If you have fine lint hair and you use normal to coarse, you're going to feel like you poured a bucket of motor oil on your head. Okay? So identifying the right formulation is key. The other thing that's key is using it enough. And so the first time that you use it, I recommend you do one of two things. You either do a good clarification, or you've all got a sample of my Color Refresh shampoo, which is a color-safe, non-sulfate, high-lather shampoo. It's a hydrating shampoo, but you'll get a good deep shampoo with that. And then use my cleansing conditioner as a good, like a normal conditioner. Or what you can do is run the cleansing conditioner through your hair twice if you don't have like a lot of product and dirt and just life and environment in your hair, okay? So if you've been out clubbing all night and you're all sweaty and you had hairspray and everything like that, probably gonna need to shampoo the next morning before you try my cleansing conditioner. That's not to say that this will not cleanse. We have examples of people in the categories that have gone weeks to months. The longest I know of is there's a teenage gal that has gone almost 8 months without shampooing. Okay, and it's amazing. I know, and that's in the normal to coarse. In the fine lint, we have a person that has gone 3 months without shampooing. Now, those are extreme cases. Typically, what you see is in the fine lint, about every 3rd or 4th day, because of the nature of the hair type and the scalps are usually oily, usually a lot more going on there. They typically shampoo about every 3rd or 4th day, or 3rd or 4th time that they get their hair wet. Sorry, I'm a guy, I shower every day, but every time you get your hair wet. On the normal to coarse, what's going to be more typical is once a week, once every 2 weeks, people will shampoo. Is kind of the interval. So, okay. Yes?
Going back to the wax-based product, how much cetyl alcohol do you have in
much less than my competitors, because the first one that you'll see past water is glycerin. And glycerin, you guys remember your beauty school days, what glycerin is primarily used for in hair care products? Anybody want to get the gold star from the nerd here? It is referred to as a humectant, right? And humectants are great for building body. If the cuticle is adequately open, you can then layer in a humectant and get great body with it. That's part of my technology. That's why I have so much glycerin in there. That's how I build the body in your hair with this product. It's also fantastic for helping me create my micro bubbles without using a surfactant, a harsh surfactant in there. And so what that does then is it's almost the mass action that helps carry the dirt and other things away and life, if you will, in your hair and your scalp, rather than chelating it with a surfactant and carrying it away, if you remember that from your school days. So the key thing is this is a thick product, it's not a concentrated product. And I'm going to yell at Robin here real quick. How much do you use? You use fine lip, right? How much do you use in your hand? Are you dime, quarter?
Quarter.
Quarter. Okay, that's